A lot of people asked me last week, why are you not talking about General Milley, Nikki? You need to discuss this. This is in your purview. And yes, it is. And I know when to poke a bear and when not to poke a bear. Looks like military.com is probably the grandparents' version of military news. They're very just like straight to the facts. And for them to even release any article talking about this, I'm very surprised about. But what they've said in this article is that General Milley, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, was actually over in Finland, which met with other fellow military leaders, specifically Russia, for 6 hours in a no documentation, no recording, nothing meeting where they have not released any of the details of it. But it does look like General Milley has talked about his talks over there, and this is what he said. It says, aboard a U.S. military aircraft, the U.S. should explore ways to expand its military contacts with the Russians, potentially to include allowing observers from each other's country to watch others' combat exercises in a broad effort to increase transparency and reduce the risk of conflict, the top U.S. military officer said. One of two things. One, the Russians have already been known to follow us and do close flybys since the Obama administration, where they've been watching our exercises to begin with. So you offering them a seat at the table is kind of interesting, to say the least. But I will say it's not like they haven't been observing already with their intelligence or with their ships or aircraft, however it may be. It has been very much Cold War tactics for the past at least 6 years. On top of that, I do have to ask basic questions of like operational security. How is that going to help us if they're not? It's kind of like this backhanded ally situation. It's like we're going to say we're close, but we're not really that close. But I am going to paraphrase here. He says that all of these talks are in regards to reduce tensions in the region, and he believes that this is a greater benefit than not talking at all. We need to put in place policies and procedures to make sure that we increase certainty to reduce uncertainty, increase trust to reduce trust, increase stability to reduce instability in order to avoid miscalculation and reduce the possibility of great power war, Milley said. That's a fundamental thing that we should try to do, and I'm going to try to do it. Allowing observers to exercise and other changes, he said, are worth exploring. We might not do it, but we should at least take a look at it, Milley said. Despite all the friction between the two countries, the U.S. also finds itself looking to Russia for some possible help in fighting in. The U.S. is struggling to secure basing rights and other counterterrorism support in countries bordering. And there have been signals that the U.S. would like Russia to ease its opposition so it can better monitor and, if needed, strike Al-Qaeda and Islamic State militants who may seek to attack America again. I know that you're thinking, great. Now we have General Milley, which was known only a week ago, to discuss with Chinese leaders, saying that he would give them a warning, per some of the reports that have come out, if the U.S. did decide to do something, is now this week in the newspapers talking about him talking to Russia. And if you guys have lived under a rock, obviously you look at the three different countries that we kind of have tensions with at any one point or time since 2015-ish, 2014-ish era. You're looking at China, Russia, and North Korea, which those over the past 6 years have definitely been variable of how tense or how loose they've actually been. I would say within the past couple years, Russia has actually been not as tense as it was during the Obama administration, but we have seen a tighter tension, I guess you could say, with the Chinese during this period. So it's like almost like they're just rotating through where the tension's going to be next. But need context to understand why he would even talk to Russia. We have to rewind back to about 2014, 2015 era when you see Russia go into the Ukraine.
These troops are standing guard just a few hundred feet away from a Ukrainian naval base. They have twice asked the base command to surrender. So far, they have refused. This is a Russian invasion, the U.S. says. It has no doubt these are Russian forces and has demanded their immediate withdrawal.
Putin's kind of like, those aren't my guys. And you're like, those are totally your dudes. They're not my dudes, though. I don't know who they are, but they're Russian. They're your dudes. I don't know how they got there. I have no idea. If you guys are here, I would appreciate just a little subscribe button. Hit a little like. It really does help out the channel. I know that every YouTuber plugs this, but it really does make a difference in the videos here. Appreciate it. Thank you. And so during this time, there's this back and forth. The Obama administration's going forward with this, and they're saying, all right, Russia, you don't play games? Fine. We will put sanctions on you. And Russia's like, cool, do that. It's not going to bother us, but trust me, you're going to pay for this. So throughout 2015, 2016, you're seeing all these reports of Russian aircraft flying over ships such as the Donald Cook and various others over in the European region that's over there. And you're like, okay, you want to play cat and mouse? We're going back to the Cold War games. Now, that's obviously until we see the former President Trump come into office, where he actually talks with Putin a little bit more. But you have to remember, we still have a stronghold in 2015 over Afghanistan. We have aircraft, we have ships that are off the coast, definitely able to get things close by. And during this time, we're also increasing tensions with Russia, as you're seeing troops that are going to Poland and various other bases that the Russians are pretty much saying, whoa, America, what are you doing? Why are you on our borders? And it's like, well, you're being aggressive. And so that's kind of why there's a lot of debate with these countries of like the EU backing it up and people coming to the table to try and help out. And, you know, how much need do we have for these different sites along the Russian border there? And I think now this is going to be more than ever needed. And that's why we're starting to play ball over here, is because, like, well, we don't have superiority here, but we need to keep our eyes on this area right here and make sure no extreme stuff is happening over here. So essentially, we've left, destabilized this region, and it looks like China has now come in to say, we respect you guys. You guys are legitimate. We're going to back you guys up. Now it looks like who's going to be settling to be able to have control or influence in this region. And I'll tell you this. In the 1980s, Russia played ball in Afghanistan. Did not go well for them. They call it the Vietnam of the Russian era. And essentially they did retreat back and they lost a bunch of money, a bunch of resources, a bunch of people, and nothing really came from it. And then America decided to play ball. We had lost a bunch of people, a lot of money, a lot of resources, things like that, and that's unfolded to where we are now. And if China wants to play ball over there, I give them the welcome mat, because I doubt they're going to be able to do much that Russia or the U.S. has not been able to do. But I do want to say that the U.S. and Russia would have some shared interests. Looking at this, I want to know, what do you guys think about this as far as like Russia and the U.S. coming together? I mean, it's not the first time this has ever happened, but it does bring interesting power dynamic as we're seeing some of this stuff play out. Is this a necessary evil in regards to, like, we're not really close allies, but we're going to do it for the best interest of each other? I don't know. I find this quite interesting as things are going to play out over the next couple of years. But please let me know down in the comments below what you think about this situation. And talking with Russia, do you think it's necessary? But as always, if you guys do appreciate what we do over here on this channel, you can support over at patreon.com for special perks and benefits located down in the description below, where you get to vote on weekly videos, also get monthly shoutouts, etc., depending on which tier you're on. Also, on top of that, you get special perks and benefits here on the YouTube join button below this video at the membership button. So we'd appreciate that as well. If you guys do have questions about this or anything else, you can always hit me up on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, down in the comments below. I love you guys. I'll see you next time.